On today's episode of GoBeWYO, I sat down with reoccurring guests and friends of the show, ESal, Engineered Salinity. They are a Wyoming-based company right out of Laramie, Wyoming, who have innovated enhanced oil recovery technique here in the state of Wyoming, and they are trying to improve the lives of everybody in the world and the United States. There is about 1 trillion barrels of oil left in the world that their technology can recover. Also hear about why they love Wyoming, the pride, and the fight in the little guy, dedication, and why Wyoming is important as we come together for common purposes, common goals, and how that breeds innovation and possibility and opportunity. This episode is also brought to you by Fly Sheridan. Save time, fly local, Fly Sheridan. Book your direct flight out of Sheridan County Airport at united.com. Well, cool, guys. This has been a long time since I talked to you, Salem, or you, Brandon. So this is awesome. Good to catch up a little bit, and I'm excited to hear what you guys got going on. I watched that little video and excited to hear a little bit about what you guys got going on. So was there anything else you guys wanted to cover?
We'll talk a little bit about, us being on the start engine, the Wyoming company. I think it's really important. It's surprising sometimes that people don't know that we're around and what we're doing. How many Wyoming startups and tech industry have been on start engine and that kind of stuff. So we really want to make sure that, people understand that's where we came from. That's where we're staying as far as, we'll always have our office and our labs kind of out there in Wyoming. And then also we could talk a little bit about some of the stuff we're going to be doing in the future, which is working with carbon storage as well. So it's something that's a kind of a hot topic. So we might as well talk about it. And, we're confident that we can improve safety and storage with our process, which was just nice to see, something that Jeff and Teresa, who were in the company 20 years ago, used to work in carbon capture and carbon storage, or sequestration as it was called back then, right? But that's too big of a word. So,
got to dumb it down for everyone, you
say sequestration, it sounds scary. And so, But so we'll be working a little bit on that too. We can talk about that. I think that's pretty good for us.
Sweet. Well, I'm doing a little different on the intros and stuff. No music. I mean, there'll be music when I do it, but so we'll get right into it. I'll go from my left. So kind of introduce everybody. We've got Salem Thyne of ESal, CEO. And Salem's been on. This is your third time, Salem, that we've had ESal on, and we always have great energy conversations, not just Salinity and what you guys do. I mean, just everything in general. And that first one seems like a decade ago, because that was before COVID, I think. And man, just the world has changed. But and so next to Salem, I don't think I've ever met. Is it Vladimir? Correct?
Yeah, Vladimir.
I've never met Vladimir before, but Vladimir's here. And then off to the other side of the table is Brandon Skinner, a Wyoming guy also from Gillette. Brandon and I hooked up one time when I was trying to find you guys in your lab, and Brandon was there. So that was really fun getting to talk with Brandon and kind of see what you guys do in the lab. So this is the ESal team, Energy Salinity. And you guys are in Dallas, correct?
Yeah, Fort Worth.
Fort Worth. So, here in Sheridan, we're starting to get our snowstorms. So, you guys are probably sitting pretty in that warm weather down there in Texas.
It actually feels really good today. I told my wife it feels like beach weather. It's real humid and just kind of like that weird, humid, windy, kind of beach weather, 60, 70 almost, So, no complaints in December 15th, 10 days from Christmas that we're not dealing with snow. So.
Yeah. I don't know. Since I've been a Wyoming guy through and through, I have no idea what I'd be thinking with Christmas like that. Brandon, what about how are you feeling right now?
Well, I'll just say when I first moved down here, it was a change of pace. I mean, shorts and weather for us is heavy jackets for native Texans down here.
Yeah. That's me. So Vladimir was texting me last night. He's like, I'm not quite used to this. This is like Christmas season, and it's 70 degrees or whatever.
Yeah, people go crazy here about ice skating, right? Something like being super exotic. You're like, okay.
Yeah.
It's a 180-degree turn.
winter is a special thing in Texas. So
yeah, awesome. Well, that's cool. Well, for my listeners, if they haven't listened to your two before Salem, let's kind of do just a quick kind of where you guys are from, what your guys' experience is, because Salem, you've got kind of an interesting path to ESal. So we'll go around the table, kind of your guys' careers, and then we'll get into it.
Yeah, absolutely. I started a long time ago in different careers. Actually, I was a high school dropout, but I went to, funny thing, I went to really junior high and elementary school down in Laramie. And so finished 9th grade, and then that's why my father was getting his PhD in geology at UW. So this is back in 1990, 86 through 90. Laramie, Wyoming was a much different place than it is today.
Mm-hmm.
We lived right across from the elementary school, directly across from it. So, and then moved out to a couple different high schools, and didn't end up graduating, believe it or not. So I was kind of a dropout, which is a weird thing. I failed my AP English class. So out of all the classes you should fail, it shouldn't be an AP class, right? As you say. But I was one of those guys that I thought I was smarter than the teacher, I think, which was a problem. And it doesn't work out well for you if any of your listeners are ever thinking about being smarter than their teacher.
Yeah.
Don't do that. But after that, I left and went into the U.S. military, and I went to the Navy nuclear program. So that was really what kind of straightened me out and made me understand how hard you have to work and how much you have to sacrifice and put in to be good. Worked in nuclear power plants with the Navy for 12 years, all aircraft carriers. So that was really great, really fun to see the world, all that stuff. And then worked internationally really with uranium enrichment. So did about almost 10 years with uranium enrichment, worked international assignments. Spent a couple of years out in the UK as well, doing that, and then really pivoted to another energy source, which is, oil and gas. And so it's a familiar territory because in enrichment, it's chemical processes and it's the same stuff, right? You're dealing with chemistry, you're dealing with energy. And so I felt it was really fun to come over here to oil and gas side. And we had a really interesting technology. So it's backed in chemistry, really. So it was right up what I'm used to seeing and used to doing. And so came over to ESal. This is a family business, so it was my father that started this business, and I was real hesitant to come into a family business. Work with your dad is not a fun thing normally, but the idea is so amazing, and the science is so awesome of what we're going to be able to do over the next 25 years that I just felt like it was a purpose. I feel that what we see today is less and less opportunities for new oil, and the opportunities for new oil come at more and more expensive costs, right? So that's an important thing to everybody. We don't think about it, but you start thinking about it now when you fill up your gas tank, right? Mm-hmm. You start thinking about that, but it really seeps into everything else we do, and that's with transportation, product costs, everything. So the prices of oil always have to be kind of sustainably low, and I don't see that happening. I don't see that happening unless we come up with new technology, and that's what we did here at ESal. So that's how I came to the company. I came to the company about 4.5 years ago, and since then we weren't really commercial then, and we really tried to put on a commercial edge, and we've done well and reaching a lot of customers, and we're continuing to improve. And like we'll talk about later, we just recently launched our crowdfunding campaign, so that'll go on for the next 6 months or so, I think. And we're just looking forward to really trying to offer our opportunity for everybody to be involved in our company.
Yeah.
What we're doing and to learn more.
Yeah. And we'll get into the history of kind of how that came about in Laramie, with your dad. And because there's a lot of important things I think for people in Wyoming need to know about how it came about and the lab's still there and et cetera. So we'll get into that. So that's great.
Real quick shout out to Heber Richardson, county commissioner down there in Albany County. Went to school with him, and he was recently talking to my father, who was looking to be on one of the boards down there, and said, "Hey, are you Salem's dad?" And so I haven't seen Heber forever, but I didn't realize he was the county commissioner down there in Albany County. So we get a shout out to Heber, man. I'm doing well. Hope you're doing well.
Awesome. Yeah, love that. Yes. Wyoming's a small community. It's always making connections everywhere.
Yeah,
love that.
Great. Sorry. Thanks for that, Aaron.
Yep. No. Vladimir, I'm kind of interested, first time meeting you, so I'm kind of interested to hear your story a little bit.
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. Really excited. So my story, I was originally born and raised in Russia, and actually came to the University of Wyoming as a student right after turning 18. Got on the plane, just go to the university, started my education in finance and economics. And while studying there, really loved it. And one of the coolest thing found was the tech incubator that is run by the university. And that's how I got to know Jeff, Salem, Teresa, all the technical team right there in the lab. And it was really fascinating. Actually, there are a lot of really cool tech startups coming out of the university. And it was really amazing to see that. And especially when I got to work with ESal, I just got blown away by the amount of the work that they have done to date. And it was like back years ago. There's a lot more that have been done after that. But I saw this really great impact that the technology could do, and all the work that has been done before, and it's just ready to go out. And I got really excited. I started working with them. Do all the economic, financial forecasting, lots of cool stuff. And then I graduated and moved right here to Texas to get this technology out there, work with the company and amazing people. And yeah, it's been quite a journey in the United States, and I love every step of it.
That's awesome, man. So my dad is his new wife is from Russia, and I don't know if you know my stepsister, Deanna from Sheridan. She's still in school, but she's dual citizenship in Russia, so that's very cool. I'm going to ask you later about why you picked the University of Wyoming, and
right.
That's very cool, man. That's awesome. Yeah, and we're going to talk about the incubator and all that stuff. So that's awesome. That's cool to hear your story. Brandon, give everyone a little bit, where you're from, how you got into ESal.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Aaron. So as far as, I grew up in Gillette, so rival to Sheridan. So you and I are just natural rivals right there. So
yes.
I don't know how we became friends, but it happens. But grew up in Gillette, and then just went to the community college down there. And then after there, I just hopped into the oil and gas industry, and I loved it. So I decided, well, I'm going to go back to school, and I went the geology route for the on the petroleum sector, and I thought that was really interesting. And the geology program at the University of Wyoming was actually really good. I've learned so much, and just was able to continue to grow on that aspect.
Yeah.
But the one interesting thing was I went into office hours one time, which I hardly ever did, and I was able to get introduced to ESal, and that's how I got on with these guys, was just going to talk to my professors, and I was offered a line of work through the university, and I was able to do some testing for ESal, just kind of third party, and then just our relationship grew. That's actually where I met Jeff, and it just the opportunity after graduating, and then just being able to hop on with ESal full time. And after that, we just said, "Oh, hey, we're going to be expanding, so we're coming down to Texas." And it's just been a really amazing journey, especially with a great group of people here.
Yeah.
And I do miss Wyoming, but I don't miss the cold.
You can visit in the warm season,
Back when it's beautiful.
Yeah. Well, guys, one thing I'm writing down is the different tracks you guys got to come together. Salem, as you said, you were a high school dropout, went into the military, had a great career there, got yourself into, nuclear and uranium. And then Vladimir, you came over here to this country, went to school, and then got hooked up through the incubator. And then Brandon, you were you went kind of trade route, went to the oil field, kind of like, oh, this is really cool. And then went back to school. So to me, I'm like, that's, for Wyoming, that's a great thing to hear, that we can either the school's doing it or, go to the military, incubator and all that stuff. So, and then the one thing, that Brandon and Vladimir said was, go talk to people, go learn, whatever interests you, the incubator, whatever it is, and that's how kind of all the stars align. So that's really cool.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would be real surprised when you go out and you start finding out what kind of companies are out there, especially through the various incubators in your city or out by the university. I know there's so many accelerators and business accelerators. Being part of a startup is a different experience, but you'll learn so much more than you ever would go into a big Amazon or Facebook or something like that, which is a great job. And don't get me wrong, but you're really going to do your job. Just that what they do. What's funny is Brandon is actually trained completely in sales. And as a geologist, he's our number one salesperson as well, right? He's our primary interface with all of our customers as a geologist.
Right.
So in a startup, you don't just to come in and be a geologist, and you don't just to be a financial analyst, right? You are part of, all of our planning, our strategic planning, our customer engagement. They're here on this podcast. That's the kind of stuff that you get, which I just encourage anybody out there, if you're students and such, and you really don't know what exactly you want to do, go out and find the startups out there and see what you can do, because you might find a great career path.
Yeah. And don't be afraid to learn, Brandon easily could have been like, well, I went to school as a geologist, and then he wouldn't be here, so you got to be open to new things. And that leads me right into the first time I met ESal was, I think you guys were about a year and a half out of the incubator, so you guys were still in the Laramie lab. I think, I don't know, somebody sent me the link, because I was doing oil and gas. I was a landman. They're like, have you seen this? And I'm, doing some research a little bit on your guys' stuff. And I'm like, how's no one heard of this? And so I was like, I'm just going to drive to Laramie. I'm going to try and find these guys. And like I said before, the only person there was Brandon, and he kind of just started. So we were kind of just learning the ropes a little bit, but it has been super cool to see like Brandon's role and just the whole company grow from, this startup and you guys going through those growing pains. Let's walk through that a little bit. So Jeff really had been working on this for a long time. Isn't that right, Sam?
Yeah, he'd been working on this since 2013. And actually started, the funny story about how we even came about was all a ski trip up down in Colorado. So it was a ski trip, and Jeff had done some work for the Enhanced Oil Recovery Institute. He was there for quite a lot of time there at the university. And he had a project about LoSal, which is low salinity water flooding up in the Menalusa. And the project turned out to really prove that LoSal didn't work in the Menalusa, which wasn't good, because there was all these people really wanting it to work. But science is science, right? Science it's going to do what it's going to do, right? And so it really frustrated him, because there was case evidence that they thought it should work. It worked in other places, other similar reservoirs. And so it bugged him. Bugged him so much that he left the Institute at some point to just continue to work on this. Because this is, if we can unlock, 20% to 30% of the oil that's still left in the ground, right? Which is a lot, which could be 1 trillion barrels in the world. That's a lot, right? If we could find a way to unlock it, which we have accidentally in the past, but do it purposefully and do it planned and do it, like with a plan and purposely and cheap, then that'd be amazing. So he was working on it. We were at a ski trip. He skied with my kids. The first day we were in Winter Park, Colorado, visiting my brother. And the next day he's like, I'm too tired to go ski. It's too cold. It's too windy, right? And I'm like, well, hey, you know what? Go back and work on this problem that's been bugging you. And I said, look, one thing I learned in the nuclear program is that when you really don't know where to go, is erase all your assumptions and just write up the facts. Write up your indications. And it's something you want to do, is because a lot of times in our brains, we just kind of hold a lot of these things we think are facts, but they're just assumptions, right? And we assume that these things are not going to change. And I said, erase all that stuff and just write up everything that you know, that you see, that we have evidence for. And the next morning he comes to me and said, I think we got it. Right. I all of a sudden I just started putting it up in all these lines, everything started to correlate and started to work out. So it'll take us a couple of years, but I think I got it. And I remember that moment. It was right before New Year's. And so then he started working on it, right? And it took years, and he started going back and looking for more data, more facts, and testing our hypotheses and really working science the right way. And which Jeff has always been, my dad's always been great at. He's a scientist, right? He's not a scientist that says, I'll make the science work. The science works if it doesn't work, right?
Right.
And I really respect that. And so that was where it was born. And then they spent lots of work, about, really 3-4 years on it, trying to find models and trying to make sure that we could actually predict this, and we could explain all the failures and the reasons why Metalucid didn't work and how to get it to work, which we can do now. And so that's how it was born. And at some point I saw the light. I gave up my 24-year career in nuclear, very successful, to come out here and do this, because I think it's that important for everybody, right? It's that important that we apply true science and something to this industry. The industry is going to change over the next really decade, and I think that something like this is going to lead the way. So
100%.
That's how we came across it. All happy accidents, really, and things, and that's what we're founded as a family, and I think we run our business kind of as a family as well.
Yeah. One thing I want to hit on, and I'm going to let Brandon, since he's the sales guy, he'll talk about the technology. But one thing that you hit on multiple times already is purpose and why. And I think that's super important for any startup or any business. Like, if you're just trying to make money, you're not going to, I mean, you might succeed, I guess, but really it comes down to your product and what you're trying to do. And I think, it's been really cool to see ESal grow. And I think we are at a point right now, I think COVID, hyper speeded this problem, but, we need something to enhance our recovery, even if that's globally or the United States, whatever it is. So, I just wanted to kind of make that point, purpose and why. And that's why you took the risk, like you said, you're leaving a 24-year career in something that would be still probably successful, nuclear.
Yeah, it was good.
But
I made a lot of money there too. And, you come to a startup and you don't know, but the purpose is it's the right thing, and we have to. We have an energy transition that's going to happen over the next 50 years. And there's more and more countries that people that deserve energy freedom. I mean, there's so much of our world that has no lights, and they deserve it as much as we have phones and everything else, and all the TVs and everything. They just deserve a standard of living that is not dark. And who are we to rob them of that? We can't do that just through, any one energy source, right? Every one of these energy sources need to be maximized and need to be productive and need to be cheap. And that's something that a lot of people don't talk about, right? It needs to be cheap. And so $100, $120 barrel of oil does nobody any good, right? Can you keep it where we're at? And the only way to do that is to really sustainably produce energy and energy sources all over the place. So that's really a big message for us.
Yeah. And I think that needs to be the talking point moving forward for everybody in energy. I think that's just no one can disagree about that. So now we've been talking a lot about ESal. So Brandon, what is ESal? What is this technology that Jeff has stumbled upon, and that you guys, have been selling the last couple of years?
Well, as Sam mentioned, it's a technology that we're able to unlock what's left behind. So many of the oil wells that have been drilled haven't been maximized to their full potential as far as recovery. So what we're able to do is to understand the chemistry and the relationships within the reservoir to be able to unlock that trapped oil.
Yeah, we do that through a technique with wettability. So wettability is basically how much water or oil might like that rock, and understanding that relationship. It's kind of like a genetic unfolding of the reservoir. When you say, if you talk about genetics, it's just kind of how chemistry in our body works, or how chemistry in anything works, and how that relationship is. And it's a real complex relationship, and that's why it hasn't been figured out. And we're still figuring out some things with it, getting better. But understanding that relationship of the oil, rock, and water, and it's not optimized. When it's born and was created, I don't know, time of the dinosaurs and before, it didn't have a plan, and it wasn't optimized, right? And so for the last 100 years, we just kind of went in there and got the easy oil. Well, the easy oil is gone, and the hard oil is understanding these things that aren't optimized, which is that relationship between the oil, rock, and the water. And we go down and we get down in the reservoir, and we understand really the relationship with oil, water, and that rock, which oil and water has not been studied well. That relationship. Oil was great because it came out, and we needed it for refineries, and so that's all we cared about, as was it good or bad oil, basically, sour oil, what how much sulfur content, things like that. And the water was a waste product. So how much studying do you do on a waste product, right? You know what I mean? Like, that's like studying my garbage bin or something, right? Like, I'm not going to go through all that and determine if there's something good there. But we've gone back through really exhaustive chemistry and really surface chemistry and understand how those relate, and then unlocking that key and re-engineering it by going down the reservoir, changing your injection water, which then reprograms its kind of genetics, as we say, right? And it aligns that genetic profile to produce and release the oil that was trapped. I don't know. I mean, your listeners, I mean, how much oil is left behind worldwide? How many people know that we leave behind 60 to 70% of the oil that we drilled for?
That's crazy.
500,000 plus oil wells in the United States, and we batted 300 on them, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's an important note that we kind of think about is and anybody listening, 70% of oil is left behind, and that's the strategy of our industry today, is to go plug and abandon these old wells. I recently had an opinion piece in Heart magazine, and I said, that's like retiring. How old are you, Aaron?
I'm 27.
Okay, that would like me saying you need to be retired now.
Right.
You can't functionally work because you're exhausted. There's nothing left for you to do. I mean, how ridiculous would that be? But that's what we're doing with our oil and gas, or really our oil wells out there in this country, and we need to really think that, because they've been drilled, we spent the money, we went through the environmental risks associated with that, and let's make them more productive. Let's put them out to year 70 of their functional life, right? Let's go get 70% of that reservoir, 80% of that reservoir.
Right. And what has been the biggest key that you guys have found, of approaching people to like, hey, use us. We can either tell you we can do it on your well or we can't.
Yeah. It's hard. Innovation in the oil industry is usually in drilling, right? And it's usually in drilling technologies, and they do a great job with that. This is back into EOR more, right? Which enhanced oil recovery. And that's been a tough spot for a long time because it wasn't real deliverable, as expensive, and not necessarily predictable. But I think that, I think we've learned a lot in the last 15, 20 years in that realm. I would like to think that we can be smarter and better like we can anywhere else. And there's a lot of great technologies out there that can do this. For us, I'll tell you, anybody listening, they're interested in this, they have an oil field, they work at an oil company, they have some interesting things, we'll go do this process as a trial on your field for free. And, if it doesn't work, it doesn't cost you anything. If it works, let's talk. Yep. So that's always what we've said to anybody out there. We're so confident in our technology and so confident in our processes because what we do, how we de-risk it, how we study it, how we know the science, how it's predictable, that I'm not going to go and tell you I can work in your field when I can't. And so if I test your field and we like the testing results, then we'll come out and we'll put it in so you can see the results for free. And if you want to keep those results, you want to expand it out to the rest of your field, the rest of the wells out there, then we'll talk, and it's really cheap. And we'll produce those barrels of oil generally for less than $4, which nobody can do. Nobody in the industry can do. So I'm that confident. You don't get that. And it's funny because I was talking to my wife about some other technologies, and she said, why don't people just do it like you do, which is, do it for free. If you don't get the results, don't charge somebody, right? And I'm like, yeah, that would be nice if the rest of the world worked like that. But not everybody does that, but we do.
Right.
And we're willing to do that kind of stuff, especially for those smaller operators out there, the guys that don't have the cash flow, that can't do that. There's a lot of them out in Wyoming. Give us a shout. We'll come test your field. If it can work, great. If it can't, we'll tell you, and it doesn't cost you anything.
Right. Well, it comes back to your guys' purpose, your why. The whole point is cheap recovery.
Yeah.
Why are we gonna charge you if it doesn't work? That's you're pretty much lying.
That wouldn't be very cheap, would
it? Yeah. What's it? Anything to add there? You too?
No, I think that's our best. For us, that's what we give, and we're just looking for people to continually partner up. We do onshore, offshore. We can work with unconventional. I know everybody's kind of focused on that's pretty much the only oil left, but I'll tell you, man, if you've got some old fields, we love you. And Wyoming, there's a lot of great targets out there. That's where we have the most knowledge, with us starting in Laramie. That's we know Wyoming inside and out, and we're willing to work anywhere in there, and we really want to help them get these barrels that they left behind and that we might leave behind. Instead of plugging and abandoning that well, let's go make it serviceable and productive.
Yeah, on that note, the last time you were on, we talked about the oil field of the future. And I think you kind of said, Wyoming can be that, because we've got these oil and gas wells that have been going for, say, 50, 60 years. And I mean, those were the humdingers. But again, if we're leaving 60 to 70% of those ones, why can't we go back out there, and try and get some recovery? And talk a little bit of what your vision is of the oil field of the future.
Yeah, the oil field of the future is something a year ago, we kind of started looking at. We had a lot of partnerships, a lot of discussions with other companies in the same startup space, right? New technologies and such. And we sat around the table and said, man, why couldn't we stop, tear down all these lines of competition between different energy sources and what we're doing? And because we need the energy, it doesn't matter, right? Like, we can compete, but in the end, there's not enough energy to go around, right? So what are we competing with, right? That seems kind of silly, right?
Yeah.
So, if we could just back off from that and say, okay, there's enough for everybody. And then what would we do in the field if we started from the very start? Knowing everything we know now, how would you go back in there, right? And you go back and look at a field as, like, right now we're oil farmers, but do we just have to be oil farmers? I mean, I always say that oil industries is oil farmers. Everything's farming, right? You take the land, you tend the land, you extract something out of it, and you use it for a purpose, right? But if I went X, Y, and Z on this big plot, how much different things on the surface? How much energy can we generate from solar or wind? From the oil, obviously, and the gas. What can we do with the gas that's come off of it? I love in Wyoming, there's companies that are doing crypto, right? That are out there and doing Bitcoin mining and other crypto mining as necessary with the waste gas, right? So that's like another really great concept. And you put a station on there, you burn the gas, you take the oil, you use the water, maybe geothermal energy production, maybe you power most of your stuff with either solar or wind that's out there. In Wyoming's plenty of wind. So I know that's out there. You don't need the big industrial wind turbines. You can have smaller ones that are located. And why can't we look at a field and say, let's look at what makes sense economically when, and apply those technologies instead of just doing one thing and then getting rid of it, right? Because today, really, I think what we've done in the past 50 years in the oil industry is let's go drill our well, take everything we have out, and then go leave it for the landowner. And any landowners ever watching this, I know how you guys sometimes get treated with some of your leaseholders, and that's the oil field of the future is working in combination with the landowner to say thank you for the land. Let me get as much. We kind of think of it as, what would Native Americans do with the buffalo, right? Use every piece of that buffalo for part of their livelihood. Well, why don't we do the same thing with the field of the future, right? The field of the future should be using every piece of energy, every piece of minerals, extraction, everything, and working that out in coordination and in planning for what makes sense economically, and to go out and do that. And so for us, we imagine Wyoming having a field of the future where you go out there, you're mining Bitcoin, you have some surface energy generation, right? You might eventually, as the oil's exhausted, you're going to use geothermal processes, right, for the water, because the water's still down there, you're still pumping it, you're still using it, and we use water quite a bit. You're planning to do that, and then you're maybe even sifting out rare earth minerals, right? Yep. As we know, lithium is starting to become an issue because of EV takeoff. Once again, energy is needed. We all need to work together. So maybe we can get some of our rare earth minerals out of there, and it's all in a process. And then also, let's stop being so ugly with our fields. Let's beautify them a little bit. It doesn't hurt to paint some oil tanks and some water tanks and make them pretty. I know it doesn't sound nice, but we should be proud of what we do in the oil industry, and we should show that pride on all of our tanks. Why wouldn't you just paint tanks with famous Wyoming people, right? Like let's pay an homage to what Wyoming was. And so when you're driving through, which is a long drive in Wyoming, if you're driving through Wyoming, maybe there's some nice scenery to look at as well, right? Out with the oil fields. So
some history,
promote other things like artists. I mean, that's I know in Gillette going through there's a lot of artistry in there. So then that is actually, when I grew up, I was like, oh, that's cool. There's, I think it was L&H Industrial over there. They had their big wall, and they had a mural right there, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And like that is an eye catcher. So you want to have something that's beautified. But on top of being able to use everything for maximum efficiency, another thing too is like just being more ESG focused as well. Yeah. So understanding like water usage, using everything efficiently, and then also carbon capture and storage. So you can maximize if the reservoir is depleted, you can turn that into a different source for capture and storage.
Yeah, absolutely right. That's a great point.
This episode of GoBeWYO is brought to you by Fly Sheridan. Save time, fly local, fly Sheridan. The Sheridan County Airport has reliable air service operated by SkyWest Airlines and United. They have a newly remodeled terminal and construction for additional parking underway. Sheridan County is becoming one of the busiest airports in the region. Book your direct flight to Denver today via united.com.
That was a quick bathroom break for us.
Yeah. That's right. You guys were you guys left off on the carbon capture.
Yeah. So, at some point when oil's been extracted and we've flushed out as much as we can with every technology, and you're talking about this is a 20-year life cycle, maybe 30 more years of extracting oil out of some of these old fields that we can unlock. And it's cheap, so it creates money that allows us to consider some of these other new technologies and start to bring them in and prove them up. And then at some point, let's evaluate this for carbon dioxide storage. Carbon dioxide also produces more oil, so it'll help us achieve our dream of every reservoir being greater than 70% of extraction, total, which is our dream. And then, we can store it as well. And so that's as an issue that we have worldwide as far as our concern for CO2 in the atmosphere and the concentration of CO2, being able to put places with man-made CO2 back in the ground, store it. That's part of the way we envision, how ESal incorporates ourselves into this whole field of the future.
Yep. Yeah. No, and I love it. And I love that you guys too want, why can't Wyoming do that? And I think for the younger guys in the room, not to call you old or anything, Salem, but we've got another native Wyoming guy, and then someone that moved here to this country. I think what's super cool about the oil field of the future is you get to bring people in or you get to keep people in with jobs, sustainable jobs. You just mentioned the carbon capture could be 20, 30 years. And that's not even talking about getting that 70% oil out. So, to you younger guys, how is that important to you about, Brandon, you could come back to Gillette if you wanted to, with this job. And Vladimir, I don't know if you liked Laramie or not, if you ever got up to Sheridan. Sheridan's a little prettier than Laramie, but, how do you guys feel about being a part of, kind of this energy transition, I guess we'll use that word.
Talking about future sustainability, right? And the younger generation, I now kind of have to think about what my children will get someday, right? That's how many years out there, and kind of seeing the way that things change, right? How we progress, how technologies progress, how we get a better understanding of the environmental issues, energy sustainability issues. I think as we get more and more educated on that, we realize that we need to constantly improve. Right? Technology and innovations never stop. They always have to continue. And we're here, right, to bring this new frontier. I think, right, when we started, the humanity started producing oil, that was a big breakthrough, right? Water flooding, enhanced oil cover, CO2, those were really big breakthroughs. And we shouldn't stop there. We should just continue doing this. And a part of this is to being creative, right? Make it fun. Look like Tesla or SpaceX, right? We're going to Mars, have this all the crazy fun stuff, right? Like the Cybertruck, right? It's just this having this vision and making it fun, creative, and constantly looking at new things and how can we make our life better, lives of our children better, and have fun in the process. And I think especially with the ESal technology, it was really interesting because I think we feel really this idea that not only benefits the people in the company, right, local economies, but also on a broader scale, kind of the whole humanity, let's just say, right, more access to resources. So then those resources can be spent on the things that will improve our lifestyles further and further. And I think that's what gets me going with this technology and the whole industry, just making things better and keep progressing, and it's been really exciting, and we're really excited to continue going forward with it. Having fun.
Yeah, we are.
Vladimir's been stealing a lot of my thunder right there. I was just going to add a lot of stuff, especially with the sustainability. I mean, especially with career sustainability, because I know a lot of, especially in the oil and gas industry, with oil prices, you get a fluctuation of there's an influx of jobs, and then there's mass layoffs. The same in coal. I mean, you see all that, but being able to have sustainable jobs and a sustainable future where you're not worried about, oh, do I have a job in a week or in a day or a year from now? And so just being able to be on the forefront, especially in Wyoming, with a lot of really neat innovations that come from there, just being on the forefront of a futuristic concept which anybody can get behind.
Yeah.
And how we talked about before, it's like, okay, each I mean, a company has a purpose, but each individual needs to have a purpose as well. And so if you can define your purpose and actually believe in that, then you can actually do great things.
Yeah.
Kind of like how Vladimir was talking about with Tesla and SpaceX. Those are crazy dreams, but they're dreams until you actually make them a reality.
I think we're honestly a crazy dream. We have a lot of fun here in the office. We have games, we have all that kind of stuff. We talk about innovation all the time. We embrace it. We hope that the rest of the industry out there is demanding this attitude of embracing innovation, as opposed to some of the older attitude, which is just don't screw it up, right? Like, we had a good deal, don't screw it up. Those two things can't be together, right? You have to let go of this feeling of, oh, just don't screw it up, and what could happen, right? And dream a little bit in the oil industry. And we're dreamers in this business. We believe this can happen. We want everybody out there, anybody that sees us, anybody that look at the company, demand ESal oil is part of this portfolio of these companies, and say, why haven't you done this? Because that's the only way we're going to change. And we have to. We have to. I mean, we are at the end of cheap oil unless we start to embrace companies like ours and others that are out there in the spaces that are doing different parts of this. And I think it's just, up to the young, and I'm not old, but I'm older. It's really up to your generation, and the generations are like right there to demand this, right? Yeah. Just like they demand that we have to be responsible for carbon dioxide emissions, we should demand that we should be extracting all the oil out of reservoirs that we can, right? Because if we're not, we cannot build solar, wind fast enough. We can't transition to EVs. We want to do that here at ESal. We want all of that. That can't happen over the next 30 years without cheap oil.
Yep. That's
what really worries us. Without, the right type of oil, the right price of oil, none of that can happen. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think you hit on something huge, because I'm not trying to say you're old, Salem, but there's
that's okay.
The old, let's just say the old guard's out. If they're still in, like, you're about out, because if you ain't going to change and get cheap oil, you're going to be gone. But I think Wyoming is primed and ready, because some stigmatism about landowners, as you were mentioning. Not all these landowners that have oil and gas wells are just like, just give me the oil and leave me alone. A lot of them have mentioned, like, what about a little wind turbine so I can power my house? Or how about you guys capture that natural gas so you're not just flaring it, and I can power my ranch operation. I mean, these guys are thinking of sustainability, and I think that needs to be the conversation of, and some of them, I will say, some of those ranchers are our age, they're third, fourth generation. So they're thinking about, I'll freaking let those crypto mining guys on my, on my land if I get paid for it, or crypto or energy. I mean, so it does start with, we have to have this new mindset, and we have to have that conversation. And I think Wyoming is primed for it. You guys are a Wyoming based company, and, got Wyoming roots all the way through. So, I want to get to, cause right now you guys are in your big, crowdfunding. There's a, I'll share the link and everything on Start Engine. Some notes I hit from that video. I'll tell all our listeners they need to go watch it, because it hits on some of the things we've already talked about. But the big ones, I think, are you guys entering year 9 or year 8?
Oh man, year 9.
Year 9. Okay, awesome. isn't that a huge marker for startups?
Yeah, so if we can get past 10, we I think we get past 80% of startups, about 90% of startups. So
And this-
don't make it past 10 years. And we've actually done all of this. This is the first fundraising we've ever done. So we've done it all through our own investment, bootstrapping, and then customer support. So which is very, very rare for startups to do, especially in the technology space. But we decided it's time to allow crowdfunding and allow the people to be part of the vision that we have. And so that's why we decided to do this. But yet no outside funding other than National Science Foundation, which has been fantastic, but they believe in our cause. And they believe in the science, which is really nice too.
Yep. That's awesome. Well, I would say you guys are going to get to year 10 unless something crazy happens. If you haven't had to, if this is the first crowdfunding you've had to do, that's pretty amazing. You guys have, another kind of bits, and I'll let you guys kind of hit it too. You guys have made, and I think I'm getting this right, you guys have made 1.7 million for your clients' revenue, correct? That's
our revenue. Our clients make a lot more than that, but that's our revenue associated with this, and that's just internal. Like we said, with a small company, we were cash flow positive just before COVID. Obviously, the oil industry decided to take a lot of pauses in their projects. We see next year being a real banner year for us as well. We have a lot of projects that are in place, both locally in Wyoming, nationally, and then internationally as well. A lot of interest in this internationally. So one of the reasons we wanted to crowdfund is just to accelerate, to continue to be able to pour into the research and development of the new stuff that we're doing, those things, and to continue to get our name out there. So like you say, how can nobody know about these guys? And we hear that a lot, and maybe that's probably my problem for not marketing us enough. But we've been really worried about making sure that we're doing the right science for a long time. And
and first, if you're an operator, somebody that's an operator. So the 1.7 is what you guys have made. So exponentially, probably talk to Vladimir. He's the number guy of what the clients have made.
So our clients can make a lot with working with us. So we obviously can't talk about all those things. I'll get in trouble.
Can give a rough estimate, and that's even through COVID, as you mentioned. And then in the video is mentioned, globally, you're talking about the global scale of recovery. It's an estimated maybe 1 trillion barrels of oil that your technology can unlock.
That sounds ridiculous, and I just want to assure everybody we go through some really rigorous compliance checks on those statements. So Start Engine will not put anything on there that does not have proof or evidence, and so we've shown that proof and evidence of what we can do, and that's actually potentially a conservative number. This is what when you leave 70% behind of of 10 trillion barrels possible, or a few trillion barrels possible. What else is out there? So we know what we can unlock, and if anybody ever wants to know, give me a call because we'll walk you through it all. And I'm very confident of those numbers. And just in the U.S., I think you have the number there too. Is right around 100 billion barrels, or just under. So
which is
what 100 billion barrels do for us? I'll tell you this: we can produce as much as the entire shale industry has produced to date and will produce with our technology, but yet we'll do it at $4 a barrel or less, as opposed to $60 a barrel.
Right.
So that's why not go do that?
Yeah,
it makes sense to me.
Well, and now you're letting people be a part of it. Get involved in the crowdfunding, and I would say listen to our 2 first interviews with you, because we really hit that very hard the first couple times about what it does. So reach out to Salem and Brandon, reach out to team if you want to learn more. But I would say listen to those 2, because we really dive deep into wettability, salinity, and one thing I think I do want Brandon to cover on why water, because I think we kind of breezed over that a little bit. You guys can do it super cheap, like you said, $4 or under, but also, you guys are almost considered green energy because you guys can save people water, so that's huge for environmentalists, the landowner, operator who has to buy the water.
Agriculture out there.
Yeah, it's just really important to understand because, we talked about it as water being a waste product and all that stuff too, but why not be able to reuse it and tailor it to be able to produce more oil, which then again, your efficiency, you're producing more oil at less energy. So, I mean, it's just a win-win on a multiple scale.
Yeah. I mean, almost all of our solutions don't involve fresh water. So imagine if we were drilling the last 10 years with ESal technology, we would have avoided fresh water in every one of them almost. And we've done the case studies. And so that's billions of barrels of fresh water that could have been used for agriculture, saved, drinking water, who knows, right? And it's because we just rush, right? And for working with us, you can avoid that. You can take a waste stream water that someone else is going to go bury and get rid of and go make more oil with it.
Yep.
How that's a green process, right? That's the old days for my age is reuse, reduce, recycle, right? Reduce, reuse, recycle. That's what we do with water. And we make sure that we inform the operators, this is the water you can use. This is what's going to get you more oil. And if they work out together, which they do in most cases, we can go help find that, or you can take one of your waste streams and actually produce more. So
yeah. I just have this vision in my head. When I was a landman, I was working for an operator, and they were buying fresh water from a landowner.
Yeah.
And man, he was making hands over fist on these guys because they were rushing and they wanted the water. And I'm sitting, after I met you guys, I'm always looking back to that. I'm like, I always wonder if they would have used ESal. I'm like, maybe they wouldn't have had to pay him. That landowner would have had his water. And then I think that well didn't turn out very well. So anyways,
and maybe the case because the water they use, we find that with some of our customers is they use fresh water for the drilling fluid and for any other additions that they put into the water frac, sand and everything, all those considerations. But most of those are just kind of assumptions, right?
Yes.
And if we could have changed it to maybe not as fresh, there could have been an optimization of wettability when you drilled and not an impact to the rest of the drilling fluids.
Yep.
And so then we work with that. We'd analyze all those drilling fluids and say, hey, if you guys went up to maybe like this 15 or 20K TDS type of fluid, and that's a little technical, right? But a little bit saltier fluid, and it doesn't impact your drilling fluids, we'll make sure. Then you might actually have a good well and produce better. And we find that to be the case a lot with our operators is they just kind of use whatever someone else has used. And so they're looking for these landowners to give them a freshwater well. And they're actually hurting their drilling, hurting their production, and in a way hurting the environment by taking fresh water to now throw down hole and contaminate and have to basically be re-cleaned for reuse. So.
Yep. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I'm just like, man.
I laugh every day. We see it. We get a lot of operators in here. We're like, okay, it's okay. We're going to help you out. We're going to make it better.
Just pat them on the back. It's okay. We'll help you.
And how would you know, right? How would you know? Because this has never been. We're the only ones in the space doing this. It's constantly validated. I think every couple of months we talk to another customer and they say, man, I don't know anybody else that's doing what you guys are doing. And that's just the case. And so.
And that's okay. You guys are priming and
yeah, it's okay. And someday we'll all be doing it. And that's fine too. That's what we want.
Yep.
And we don't necessarily care if it's with ESal. We want this to come out and we want this technology to be everywhere because we need it as a world, and we need it. We have to have this. We got to be smarter with water. We got to be smarter with energy prices. We have to be smarter with what we're doing.
Yeah, 100%. Well, guys, I want to do. I kind of went away from this when I first started the podcast, but since I've got friends of the show back on, what's it mean to you guys? And maybe we'll have Vladimir go first. I don't know, but he lived in Laramie, went to school there. The term GoBeWYO, Go Be Wyoming, and it can be related to energy, to your guys' business, whatever it is. What does that mean to you guys, and how Wyoming can kind of be leaders? There's just so much crap going on. I'll just say it. Any realm you look at, energy, politics, social. I mean, there's just a load of crap. But Brandon being from Wyoming, Salem, you be from Wyoming. I think we've hit on some themes. How can Wyoming kind of be the leader in some issues, or just what does GoBeWYO mean to you guys? And maybe let's start with Brandon first, and then if Vlad wants to go, then Salem can end. So.
Yeah. Well, what it means to me, like just what I'm getting from there, is just we do look to a lot of people as far as like big cities like Dallas, who are the leaders in Dallas, who are the leaders in New York and Washington and all that stuff. Why can't Wyoming be leaders? Why can't the little guys be the leaders? And I think that's the one thing for us. It's like we've got the drive. Wyoming's got the drive. Wyoming's got the passion, got the pride. And that's why Wyoming and Texas feel like home in both cases, because there is that sense of pride and dedication. And so I feel just not just in the oil and gas industry, but just Wyoming itself has that potential to be the leaders of tomorrow.
I would say for me it was really interesting coming to Wyoming and like learning, right, like meeting people. And one thing that I really noticed kind of right away is that everyone in Wyoming knows everyone, right? Wyoming, you always joke like, oh, this is like a small world, and everyone in Wyoming knows everyone. And I thought that was really, really cool because in that case, it's very strong, it's very tight community of people, right, across different cities and also across such a small piece of land too. It was really interesting how in Wyoming, right, all these people like work together because they know if they benefit their community, it will also benefit all the people inside the state. So now you have a lot of different communities, a lot of different cities working together towards a common goal, right? And in Wyoming, I also really like the spirit of the state, right? Uh, like people in Wyoming, they love Wyoming, and I do love Wyoming because of that.
Yeah.
It's really amazing, and I think that translates into the leadership. How we always say innovation typically comes from smaller companies, smaller communities, and I think Wyoming is perfectly positioned there because now it's way easier to get new technologies out, to get new projects, just to get new things out in the world, right? Like how Wyoming became a national leader in cryptocurrency. And it wasn't really that hard, right? It just had to embrace it and push forward with it.
Yeah.
And Wyoming can do this for a lot of other things as well. And that's what I really liked. And I think, again, it's a perfect platform for new things and new technologies to come out and give an example to the rest of the states and even the rest of the world, how a lot of people can unite together and work towards a common goal. And I think Wyoming is perfectly set up for this. That was
Can you follow that up, Salem? That was great.
Yeah. No, hey, Wyoming's frontier land, right? Wyoming was the frontier. I moved there in '86 from Dallas, and people said, "Oh, and they still have, they have electricity there. Do they have, like that kind of stuff, right?" But Wyoming is a frontier spirit, and it's a frontier spirit. What does that mean, right? That means that you see possibilities, and people in Wyoming that settle Wyoming and since the beginning of Wyoming see possibilities. What you get is in cities and the high populated, you don't see possibilities, you see restrictions, right? So in frontier, when you're out there in the grand opening scape of Wyoming, what do you see? Possibility. I don't see buildings. I don't see those things. I'm constantly surrounded with opportunity and possibility, right? Technology innovation is about seeing possibility and opportunity. Frontiersmen didn't go for a sure deal, right? They didn't settle the Wild West for a sure deal, right? That was about the possibility and the opportunity. We are in that realm again, and we have to embrace that again in our industries, for energy industries today. What better place that comes through is what Wyoming, right? Because it's all possibility there. It's a blank canvas in so many ways that what can happen, right? The people that are there have the spirit that they're the little guy and they want to fight, right? They want to be there the whole time. They didn't want to move somewhere else and join the crowd. They want to be who they are there. And that's exactly what we love. We are the same. That's why we stay in Wyoming. That's why we stay in Laramie, because we're the same. We're the little guy fighting the big guys that say, oh, oil and gas industry is going to be dead in 20 years and let's move on and let's just go ahead and leave all these wells to the landowners to plug and abandon. And we say, no. That's what Wyoming is, and that's what GoBeWYO is about. GoBeWYO is the little guy and about possibility. So for us, what better place to embrace and to be part of that community than Wyoming?
Love it. Love that. That was awesome. Last thing, guys, just what's the best way to find ESal? Who should people get in touch with? I've already mentioned the start engine. What are some other things that you guys would like to point out to people if they're interested in the crowdfunding and things like that?
But where can you find us? You can go to our website, esalinity.com. You see us on on LinkedIn quite a bit all the time. We have a great presence there. If you want to read more, we put papers up there, our thoughts, our thought leadership pieces. I totally encourage people to go to Start Engine website and see the video. Like you said, it talks, you can see what we're doing a little bit and talks about that. We have Facebook, we have Instagram.
We started on Instagram too, so we're positioning ourselves on all the major social media platforms. So
all the things.
Yeah, we're expanding, we're growing, and it's pretty easy to get a hold of us.
Yeah. And then just at any time, reach out. We're, like we say, we're a family here. We're interested to talk to anybody. Usually get with Brandon first, and he lets you know what's going on. So reach out to them. There's a link on our website. If you're interested, then contact us, and we'll give you a call right back as soon as, usually within a day or so, and get back with you. And that's where we're at. So reach out, have fun, follow us on LinkedIn, please, because we're always, every week we're posting something new, and we put some of our science up there as well. So love it. Appreciate you having us on the show, Aaron. Thank you so much. Great.
Absolutely. Well, you guys were first supporters of the show, and so of course I've had you guys on, and always happy to get you guys on and talk energy and promote you guys. I will say, I think GoBeWYO is the first follower on Instagram, because I was looking for you guys. I was like, are they on Instagram?
Oh yeah. We just started Instagram because we have to think about, hey, everybody needs to be able to find you. So that was something we just recently started to do. So we'll be putting more posts on Instagram. So if you got that, follow us, man. We'll start putting some videos and things and stuff that we've been doing up there too. So
yeah, awesome. Well, and you guys do put some great stuff out on LinkedIn, so I would highly recommend that. But how long? Here's one question: how long is the crowdfunding going to go for?
It'll go for a few more months that we know of. On the page, I don't think it says when it closes, but it'll be a notification out then. We'll be putting that out. We'll be doing a lot more videos and talking about what we're going to be doing in the future. So anybody investing understands what they're investing in and how they're investing. Like I say, if you believe that we should have sustainable energy, low price sustainable energy for the next 20, 40, 30 years, then you should be invested in us. We're going to be leading that way. And so no one else is doing it. And it's just us. So might as well hitch your, horse star wagon and go. So we need your help to do that. But that's what we're doing. So
love it. Well, and also too, for my Wyoming listeners, you're a Wyoming-based company, Wyoming guys, and everyone should have raised their hand with all those things you just said: sustainable energy, cheap prices, et cetera, et cetera. Like, if you're not raising your hand, something's wrong. So
I agree. You might want to go somewhere else.
Yeah. But Brandon, Vladimir, Salem, thanks for your guys' time. It was great having you guys on. And make sure you guys go to their website, and you can find them almost anywhere. So ESal engineered salinity. Sorry, guys.
Got it. Good. Appreciate it. Thanks, Aaron. Thanks for having us on. Love the show. Keep following.
Thanks, guys. Yep. Hey, Merry Christmas, guys. We'll talk to you later.
Merry Christmas. Thanks.